Hi there. I'm Dr. Moss David Pozner, and this is the third in a series of Organized Stalking Survival, so Part 3. Rick Pinheiro, who usually is with me, had to leave early, unfortunately, and he regrets that, I'm sure. But we want to go ahead and make sure that we have a tape out for you folks so that you know we didn't forget you. By way of information, tonight we did have a meeting, and this is what we usually do every 2 weeks or 4 weeks, depending, is to get a tape out the same night that we have a meeting of the local targeted individuals groups. And there are a couple of things I want to tell you, but let me give you a little bit of background about the Organized Stalking Survival or Targeted Individual group that met this evening. We had 3 additional people come down in a carpool from the East Bay area who have been targets, and each one of their stories is another nightmare story, and each one of them is very credible. Now, my colleague Rick and I are very good at picking up on perps, and these people were not perps. They're the real deal. And the meeting went very well. They were just happy to be here for the hour and a half or 2 that they were here. As I look back, I wish we had spent more time with them, but unfortunately we couldn't. We're lucky to have my professional taping man, Nitesh Patel, who has dropped everything and even postponed for an hour his bowling game so that he could tape this for all you folks this evening. And I want to tell you a little bit about the things we talked about in this meeting. Now, one of the things that is very important for people to remember is this. All of you have suffered as a result of this, whether it's psychological, physical, usually both. But what you have to remember is the more pressure that's being put on you, the more people that are telling you, the more aggravation that you're going through, tells you one thing that you need to keep in mind and never forget it. And that is, these people are scared to death of you. Otherwise, they wouldn't be spending the time and the money to do all this to you. You're very important to them. I know that doesn't make you feel very flattered, but it's very true. They are spending a lot to keep this thing alive. Now, you might say, why are they doing this? They're doing this because of 2 reasons. The major reason is they are practicing finding out the ins and outs of mind control on groups and individuals so that they can keep who's ever left in this country under some sort of control. Now, I probably couldn't find a better audience that would appreciate that statement without thinking I was paranoid or weird than you folks, because you've seen paranoid and weird technology, and this is no surprise. But that's what this is all about. Other cases, there are local police, FBI, and so forth, who have enough clout that they can pull resources to harass an individual that may have crossed them. But they're all part of the same club of misfits. They're all part of the same clown club. So just understand it from that point of view. You have more strength in being alive, in being able to watch this tape, and being able to understand what's being said and being able to act on it. You have more going for you than these clowns have going for them. Because if they were in a similar position you are now, I'd love to see how long they'd last. I don't think they'd last very long. Think about that for a moment. I saw an interview between a guy who trains the Rangers, Army Rangers. And it was a documentary on TV. And the interview was asking, why do some people endure the survival training and other people drop out? Has it to do with physical endurance or training, intelligence? He said, it doesn't have to do with any of those things. He said, what it has to do with is attitude. If people can convince themselves that they can endure, and they keep talking to themselves, they call it self-talk. Come on, you can do it. Come on, you can do it. It makes all the difference in the world. I could say a lot more about that, and I will in the future. But I just want to give you a little bit of a pep talk here because you deserve it and you need it. We survive. That's what the name of this tape is, Organized Stalking Survival. We survive by the positive attitude, no matter what's happening. You can't make them go away, but if you're going to make them go away or lay off, ironically enough, the only way you're going to do that is not by giving in and saying, okay, I'll be good. That just encourages these clowns even more. You do it by saying, you know what, bring it on. I don't care. I ain't stopping. Because the more that you resist the temptation to give in, the harder it is for them. It's going to make it harder on them and easier on you, believe it or not. Easy for me to say, although I've been involved myself, so I think I'm qualified to comment. But I haven't been hit as hard as some of you. The other thing I want to tell you is be very suspicious of people you don't know. You can drive yourself crazy. There are things to look for. I'll be very honest with you. I am extremely suspicious of each and every online stalking or harassment group that exists. And I'm suspicious of them for the following reasons. One, years ago, when I first got involved with these groups, the moment I started to raise pointed questions, somehow the group leader or leaders found some excuse for forcing me out of the group. I've seen variants of this most recently. That's why I left the last group I was with. What better place to keep track of the victims and know exactly what they're doing? What better way to program them to be than to be the systems operator for an online group? That's where they get their information, and that's where they program you. The other thing about these online groups, they are very good at letting all kinds of garbage information in. You see these discussion threads. If you weren't schizophrenic before you started to read them, you will after, because they talk about everything under the sun and so forth, and it only aggravates the disorganization of the thinking of the people who are in the group. Third thing is, what they should be doing is showing you how to survive, not just, oh, that's a terrible thing. Well, you might try that shield, and I don't know about that. Well, what do you think? Nonsense. They should be giving you an online manual, how to survive government harassment. And we're getting together something like that for you guys. The important thing is, do not give in. Develop a routine every day, however crazy it may sound. Go to bed at the same time. If you can't close your eyes and you don't fall asleep, get up, get a glass of warm milk, go back to bed. If you don't fall asleep in 30 minutes, get up again. In other words, follow routine. Even if you can't force yourself to do something during it, but follow a routine. Next, take notes on everything. Take notes on everything, write everything down. Carry a smartphone. If somebody gives you a hard time, you're not sure, just hold it up, punch the thing, and see what happens. Because one thing these people are scared to death about is exposure. And there are other techniques as well. There's just so much that we could go into. We don't have time to do it all. If you have any question, you can write to us. I'm Dr. Moss David Pozner. Leave comments here on organized stalking survival. And I will be more than happy to answer any questions or comments you may have. So, good night, God bless, and don't give in to evil.